Hello my internet friends, and welcome back to Cook It and Eat It here on Jim Johnston Reviews the World. Now today I have for you a very tasty special treat. I call this asparagus roasted salmon, or you could also call it salmon roasted asparagus. What we're going to do is we're going to cook our salmon on top of a bed of asparagus in our frying pan so that we can get a melding of the flavors of the two for a nice, lovely, fragrant, and delicious. Alright, so basically in this recipe, we're going to use the asparagus kind of like a plank, like you would plank a salmon, but we're also roasting a vegetable and adding flavor to both the asparagus and fish components at the same time. So we're going to want a light drizzle of our favorite oil, swirl that around, and allow it to get a nice glistening sheen on it. Alright, now we're going to go with our asparagus. This was frozen asparagus, so it's not going to need as much to cook as fresh. Alright. I'm going to spread this out, hit it with a little seasoned salt, fresh ground black pepper, and that would probably be about a quarter teaspoon of the seasoned salt, and I'd say about a half teaspoon, third to a half teaspoon of black pepper, depending upon how much you like. And that's all we're going to do right now. We're going to let this roast off and get rid of the excess moisture, and we'll be back to add the fish in just a couple minutes. Alright, this asparagus has been cooking for a few minutes, and to be completely honest, this recipe would probably work out better both in terms of flavor and texture if you used fresh asparagus, but I'm using frozen today, and a big part of the reason I was using this frozen asparagus today was because I wanted to use it up. I actually found this in my freezer after a recent grocery trip, and it had gotten crammed down in between shelves, and I had forgotten about it, so it'd been in there a few months at least. So this was a good excuse to use it up, and it'll be just fine. It'll taste just fine. But if you're a fan of asparagus, or you're maybe not so sure about asparagus, having the fresh so it still has just a little bit of snap in it when you cook it might be preferred. But this is done enough. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add our piece of salmon, and right on top. So you can see I kind of adjusted these. And we're going to put the salmon in right on top. And then we want to season. So I'm going to go in just a little drizzle of W sauce. Another light pinch of seasoned salt. Make that as light as you can for the most part. Chopped chives. This would probably be a third or so of a teaspoon. Chives with asparagus and chives with fish are both excellent things. About a third of a teaspoon of fresh ground black pepper. Light dusting of red pepper flake for a little bit of heat. Light dusting of cumin. And then a dusting, not a ton of seasoning in this in terms of the amount. I'd call that maybe a quarter teaspoon. Most of these spices I'd call it a quarter teaspoon to a third. A little bit more on the chives and the black pepper. We got our Worcestershire sauce. Alright, now I'm just going to give it a lid. Not quite a full lid of lemon juice. And yeah, that's how I measure my lemon juice. I buy it pre-made. Again, the fresh stuff doesn't last long enough in the fridge for me to use it up without it going bad. So I buy the extracted juice, and I always measure it in lids. So I'm going to drizzle about a lid on here. Alright, that's most of our flavor profile. We'll probably add a couple things after we flip the fish. But go ahead and clamp your lid on. It's a frying pan, so if you don't have a lid that doesn't quite fit, that's alright too. But go ahead and clamp your lid on, and go ahead and let that cook now like that with the steam, and actually adjust your steam vent so it's away from the actual piece of fish if you have a steam vent on your lid. We're going to go ahead and we're going to let this cook and steam for about 7 minutes until we see the fish really starting to turn opaque all the way around the edges. Alright, and we're back. It's been about 7-8 minutes, and I think our fish is looking nice and done on that side. Again, this is kind of a combo cooking method this way. It's kind of a part cook, heat from the bottom up, and it's kind of a part steam as well. We're going to go ahead, we're going to flip this fish kind of like that, get all the extra asparagus off the bottom. I do want to rotate our asparagus. Look at that nice char on there. Put our fish back on top. Hit this side with the ground pepper. Another light dusting of the cumin. And one more cap, actually probably about 3/4 of a cap of lemon. You can see that's a tiny little cap, probably maybe a teaspoon. I'd say less than a teaspoon. Alright, we're going to clamp the lid back on. We're going to let it go about 4 minutes with the lid on, and then we're going to take the lid off and let it go about another 4 minutes with the lid off. And then we should be ready to eat fish and asparagus. Alright, it's been about 8 minutes. 4 minutes with the lid on, 4 minutes with the lid off. I'm going to go ahead and kill the heat. And I am going to just make sure that it's done through, and it is. So here we have it, our asparagus roasted salmon, or our salmon roasted asparagus. This one goes either way, I guess. Let's take this off of the pan and out on a plate. Alright, so here we have it. beautiful, well done asparagus, and a delicious piece of fish. First we did the cooking, now we can do the eating here on Cook It and Eat It. Bite into our fish first. Look at that perfectly cooked, flaky salmon. That is wonderful. The citrusy notes from the cumin and the lemon, the spice from the pepper and garlic, just a little bit of something from the chives. Let's try a piece of asparagus. As I said earlier, for real talk folks, I suggest using about 4 ounces of fresh, nice skinny pieces of asparagus, skinny trimmed pieces of asparagus, as opposed to the 5 ounces of frozen that I used here. It's got great flavor. Frozen asparagus always comes out a little bit limp. It tastes good and it's still good for you though. The pieces with some char on it from the bottom of the pan almost have a sweet, caramelized flavor to them. It's very, very interesting. That's great too. And that's spicy. Just enough salt from that seasoned salt. A little bit of that citrus coming through from... All right, let's try our asparagus and our fish together. That's wonderful, folks. So all you need for this, a couple seasonings, frying pan, nice sized piece of fish, nice portion of asparagus, fresh or frozen, but fresh will probably work out better for you. Today, I had some frozen I wanted to use up. Tastes just as good, but you will have a different texture to using the fresh. As always, folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to Cook It and Eat It here on JJRTW, and I'll be back with you real soon with another wonderful, delicious recipe. In the meantime, go ahead and comment below, subscribe to this channel, and share it with your friends to help me grow the cooking, eating audience. Also check me out on Facebook and Instagram. That's a great place to connect with me and communicate with me. Join the conversation about food, fun, and really anything else that you might see come along. We'll see you next time here on Cook It and Eat It. And remember, my friends, be weird, be free, and most importantly of all, be independent.